What's up, Legion? Welcome to I Still Call It a Lariat. We are a pro wrestling podcast. We are at least the okayest wrestling podcast that is being recorded at this exact moment. I can guarantee that we're the best pro wrestling podcast being recorded with these two gentlemen right here. My name is Steve Zapf. With me, as always, is my boy Hound. Hound Dog, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing well, man. You know, it's wintertime. It's cold season. My daughter, unfortunately, she's caught a case of the basically dyings. She's had a rough cough for a few. Yeah, she's had a rough cough for a few days, but she's definitely doing a lot better. I mean, you know, 43 years old. It's wintertime, so I'm basically dead. But no, man, it's been an unbelievable start to the year. I'm excited for everything that's to come. I'm excited for everything that's happening for you, for me, for everybody in the Legion. It's going to be great.
I agree. I think 2025 is going to be everyone's year. We have an interesting week in wrestling. We got maybe an end for AEW. We had some evil in NXT. And some gravesite stuff, if you will. If you will. Oh, man. Yeah, I'm throwing it out there. I'm prenuring right now. Just so you know.
He is very, very much in the mindset of preneur.
Now then, before we get into exciting wrestling action, let's talk about our nonprofit organizations that we promote and help out with. First off, of course, is Tap Cancer Out, a series of jiu-jitsu tournaments that helps out with Alex's Lemonade Stand, American Brain Tumor Association, Isabella Santos Foundation, Little Pink Houses of Hope, Camp Sunshine, Christopher Haven, the Sidney Kimmel Comprehensive Cancer Center at Johns Hopkins, CureCervicalCancer.org, First Descent, and of course, Tom Coughlin's J Fund.
Let's see if I got one in the tank.
Come on. I know we're all dying, but I got to hear it.
The J Fund.
Yes.
Oh,
I love
that
it.
hurt. That hurt a lot to get.
Ooh, we need to do it.
It's fun though. But it's important, man. It's important that we stay on top of this. You know, it's always better to give than receive. And it's a noble cause to support, and I believe it's done with the right heart. So it's a beautiful thing.
I completely agree with that. I think that Tap Cancer Out is one of the best things I've gotten involved with. I am very heavily involved with a lot of different cancer research and anti-cancer organizations just in general. And this is easily the reason why I chose this one. It was my favorite that I've been involved with. Also, it doesn't have cuss words in it, even though we are adults and that's how we sometimes speak. The other nonprofit that we have been pushing, and now it is even expanding, is the American Red Cross and just the entirety of their disaster relief at this point. It started off obviously with the hurricane disaster, the varying hurricanes between Milton and Helene, and now it's expanding to the fires out in the West Coast. Folks, this is there is something going on out there, and luckily I've heard from some people. One of the rumors was that Melina, the wrestling legend, was not heard from days. I was able to reach out to some people who do know her personally, and we have made sure that she is okay. And that is more than I can say for a lot of the people that are out there. Please, folks, if you have any way of helping these people out, a little bit goes a long way even. So, as always, the link for the American Red Cross will be in our description below as well. And of course, the final one that we have been helping out with, this is about as personal for us as it gets, as it is Chris Bay's GoFundMe. Being in the wrestling business, being a part of this wrestling community, as we keep calling it, the wrestling universe, whatever you want to call it, seeing a brother fall in any way, shape, or form like this after he was just kind of doing a routine move and needed to have emergency neck surgery. We keep getting good news about it, but I would love to keep hearing more good news if everyone could just keep helping out with this and keep going. You know what? Go buy his t-shirts. That funding goes almost completely to him. All of that stuff, the t-shirts, buying his theme song, all of that stuff, they send all of that money right back to Chris Bay. And as we've said so many weeks now, brother, we hope that you have a full recovery and you make it back to doing everything that you love to do. I don't just want you to just have the normal life. I want you to have an extraordinary life. And that is the realest comment that we're going to get out of this one. Hound, I know you share this sentiment.
Yeah, and I've spoken at length about why it's so important and where we stand, and well wishes and sending the positive vibes, if you will. But anybody listening, I want you to kind of use this as a cautionary tale. Chris Bay, extraordinarily talented, but at any moment, anything could happen to any of us. Don't take a second for granted, folks. Please, slip on a banana peel, and that could be it. We're not promised our next second, our next heartbeat, not anything. So spend the time in the right frame of mind. Let's all focus this year on just gratitude. I think it's going to be a great thing.
I agree with that, man. And so with that said, those are our 3 nonprofit organizations that we are definitely helping out with and continuing to promote. Legion, as always, if you can help out with any of these, please do. Other than that, folks, if you have been liking what you've been hearing or watching or any of that stuff, remember, hit that subscribe, hit that follow, hit the likes, hit the comments. We are doing a lot of cool stuff. We're coming on our 1-year anniversary. 1 year of I Still Call It a Lariat.
It's incredible.
I can't believe that we made it this far. I'm super proud of this product. I love the fact that it has afforded me other opportunities because of doing this. Part of that is I will be going to help out with the Wrestling Society Network as well as a host, but this is still our number 1 priority. I Still Call It a Lariat, and the Legion is number 1 to us. We put a lot of time. We love the Legion. We hope that the Legion just keeps growing and growing and growing, and we can't wait to see what keeps happening. But Hound, I was told we're supposed to talk about wrestling. I think that's the rumor about what this show is about. I know I say it in the beginning that this is a pro wrestling podcast.
Hey, well, you know what, man?
I said it.
You did say it.
I don't like being a liar.
Now we will prove you to be truthful in your words on this day. Perhaps not on tomorrow.
No, like tomorrow's a completely different story. I can't make promises for tomorrow. But today we're going to talk about that wrestling, that professional wrestling. So first off, one of the big stories coming out of AEW has been that Malachi / Aleister Black / Tommy End, whatever name you care to call this gentleman by, looks to be leaving AEW. And even on the programming, it looks like they're kind of openly, almost like admitting it. They have Buddy Matthews doing some stuff by himself. They have Brody King and Julia Hart doing stuff by herself. Hound, you are a fan of whatever name this gentleman goes by, whether it's Tommy End, whether it's Aleister Black, whether it's Malachi Black. You have been a fan of his for years now. And I know this personally. I know you're a fan. What do you think about this, about him leaving? Where do you think he ends up? Do you think he goes back to WWE? Do you think he maybe personally, because we do champion it so much, I think he would be an awesome fit in TNA.
He would definitely be a good fit in TNA, but you know what? Out of the group of us, and we've mentioned it in other things we covered, while none of us are the biggest aficionados of Japanese wrestling, I would be the biggest of the group of us. Selfishly, I'd like to see him have a year over in New Japan.
That would be very cool. I think he would do very well in the G1. I think he would be a very exciting watch for that.
It would be good, and with him being such a prolific striker and prolific martial artist, because he is, and anybody who says otherwise, like, he's not yet. Okay, go tell him. And when he spin kicks you in the face and you feel that it really does not tickle, I'm going to go, sorry.
Told you.
Yeah.
Told you so.
As much as I sit here and I tell everybody I'm going to beat up Takeshita, which we know isn't going to happen, but you know what, for the sake of the show, Takeshita.
Shake your fist harder, boy.
Yeah, but I honestly, it's a shame because I would have loved to have seen Takeshita and Malachi get after it. Just let them kick each other for a little while.
But maybe we'll get lucky and we'll at least get the rest of the House of, or the group formerly known as the House of Black now with Takeshita at some point, because Takeshita and Buddy Matthews would be fun.
Listen, Takeshita with anybody, Buddy Matthews with anybody, and even as we get into the show, Buddy Matthews with his opponent from this week. I don't know what that sound was, but it was pretty encompassing for what happened in that ring, because it was...
Yeah, because it's going to be real hard to describe what they did, because it was that.
So you remember when we had G.I. Joes as a kid, and we would make them do, like, stuff? And so, you know.
Are you saying someone was playing with G.I. Joes, but they were Buddy Matthews and his opponent this week? And they were flipping through the air, but like really, really,
yeah.
Like they shouldn't have been, like human beings shouldn't have been allowed to do that stuff.
Folks in the Legion, and I know we keep talking about, like, you know, oh my God, look what Ospreay did with Kyle Fletcher. Look what Ospreay and Okada just accomplished. Oh my gosh, look what Kenny Omega accomplished with Gabe Kidd in the Tokyo Dome. And every one of them deserves your attention, your appreciation, all of that. Go watch Buddy Matthews and Will Ospreay show everybody why they're better than everybody. Because it's like, I'm a drummer, and so there are certain people, when I see them play, I'm like, I'm just going to break my hands. I don't need these things because I can never do that. And it's disheartening. It really, it's so good. It made me perturbed. And for the first time this year, I was angry.
Let's move on to another controversy. Now, Hound, I have heard that this might be a work. Let me just throw that out there. Could be. But there's a lot of speculation and news and controversy surrounding one Mr. Corey Graves. Apparently, him being moved to NXT this week, which we will be talking about, has not been the smoothest transition. I'm almost of the mindset that I do agree it could be a work. I think that there's a possibility that Corey Graves might be cleared again to wrestle.
I would love that for him, man.
And if nothing else, he at least gets one more go around, even if it's one more match, just to get that out of his system. A big rumor that I've heard amongst the varying wrestling threads that I'm a part of, I don't want to say chat rooms because those things don't exist anymore, but I've heard that this could all be leading to Corey Graves versus Pat McAfee as like
yes, a million times over.
Yeah,
just because of the trash talk leading up to that.
I want the promos all day long.
We were talking about Pat McAfee before the show, and from the first Raw on Netflix, folks, go find it on YouTube, the short of him interacting with Dominic Mysterio. I was in tears. I laughed so hard. It was so good.
So we will keep an eye out on this, obviously. This is actual wrestling news. We'll see what happens with this whole thing. I have been unapologetically on board for Corey Graves for the better portion of the last year. I think he is the best commentator in wrestling right now. Across any of the brands. Brands.
Okay.
I will say this. I would normally just automatically divert back to good old JR, but I think JR is a little bit past. Unfortunately, the game, I think, is a little passing him by at this point because he's just between health things and things like that. I think it's time that he's almost done.
I can name one that Corey Graves is not better than.
Don't say it. I know what you're going to say. I know who
I
you're going
won't
to say.
say. I
I know
won't
who you're
say
going to
it.
say.
Yes.
We'll tell about it later. Later. Tony Schiavone. I know who it was going to be. Tony Schiavone. It's not. He's the worst. All right. Now then, let's get into the start of the week in wrestling. And that will be NXT from January 7th, 2025. This is the official New Year's Evil event from LA with The Rock on it. Rock the Dwayne Johnson. Right off the bat, as we had said earlier, Corey Graves joins the commentary team on NXT. I think this is a good thing, although it does mean that someone else has to work through Booker T's nonsensical commentary that he throws out there. Listen, Booker T is a legend. He can say and do whatever he wants at this point. The problem is he actually does say and do whatever he wants on air. This show opens with a banger, though. We get Roxanne Perez, the defending champion, versus Julia for the NXT Women's title. Hound, I need opinions on this one right off the bat because I know you're big on both of these women, and these two girls delivered in my mind.
So remember how early on we never once questioned whether or not Julia would be able to perform in the ring here, and we knew it would take her a little bit to catch the WWE style because it is different than Stardom and it is different than New Japan and it is different from all that. We worried more, is she going to be able to connect with the crowd due to the language barrier? She has shown everybody she 100% is a star. And Roxanne Perez deserves all of the accolades from that title run. She headed, in my opinion, the best women's division on the planet. And she was the quarterback of it for the last year. And she led the way. These two, there's not a better successor for Roxanne, and there's not a better time for Roxanne to be moving to the main roster. I'm certain that they're going to have like one or two little blow-off matches down here. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some kind of Cora Jade turns on Roxanne with the title being gone, and Cora Jade goes over on Roxanne as kind of a little bit of rub as Roxanne heads off to Raw or SmackDown. But yeah, these two delivered. The only thing, I mean, I just think Julia's finisher looks weak as a move. I wish she could end it with the Arrivederci knee.
I think she should end it with the knee.
Yeah, I mean, you can use the other thing. It's kind of like a half Michinoku driver. You can use that as the setup for the knee. I would just invert them, but other than that, not a complaint. I thought the women executed essentially a flawless match. Like I would not want to follow it.
No, I think they did so good. I thought the storytelling in the match, with the beginning of it with Roxanne trying to get under Julia's skin, was awesome. It led to her being able to capitalize on a mistake from Julia. You can visibly see that Julia is getting more comfortable in front of these American crowds.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful to see. We get Cora Jade interference, and this doesn't deter Julia at all. We still get a brand new NXT Women's Champion, and that is Julia. That is huge. This is the first big show that they're doing for the year. This is literally the night after Raw debuted on Netflix. They had to go hard, and they delivered in this match. I can't speak well enough of it. There was just so many good things that happened here, and kudos to Julia, kudos to Roxanne Perez. I am looking forward to Roxanne getting onto the main roster and almost getting thrown headfirst into someone like Bayley. I think that's going to be the thing.
I think Bayley's a great fit for her. I'm looking forward to Roxanne Becky Lynch. I'm looking forward to Roxanne and Bianca Belair. Yes, all of that. And I am so glad to see how far the women's division has come from when we were growing up and it was the Divas with the butterfly title, and the only real good one was AJ.
Yep. I completely agree. I love how far
you
it's
could
come.
say Paige too was really good.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw this out there before we move on to the next match, and there are 5 matches on this show. 3 of them are women's matches.
And there wasn't a bad one out of them. There really wasn't.
No, this was a really good. There wasn't actually a bad match on this card.
No, there was not.
This was a very good show. It's booked up and down like a show. It has continuity. It has flow. I am very happy with New Year's Evil. With that said, let's move on to the women's 4-way match. This is a women's 4-way number 1 contender match for the women's North American title. Hound, before I move on to the match, actually, I would like to ask you. So I kind of get the idea of calling it the NXT Women's Champion because there's no such thing as a world champion in NXT. The NXT champion and the NXT Women's Champion. I get that. So giving the crowbar, I could see them just calling Julia at this point the NXT champion. She's the NXT champion. Well, obviously, if you're just calling it the NXT champion, she is the highest level of it. For the North American title or the Intercontinental title now, or the US title now that they have women's division for all 3 of those now, should we just call them the title, like the title name, not the women's title? I mean, it's different if you and I are referring to it so that we can crowbar the division that we're in, but almost like the like when they're doing announcing the current, you know what I'm saying? I'm just wondering, and I'm not trying to be more woke than I am. Let's face it, I'm not that guy. What I'm asking is are we at a point now where we should just call those by their titles names? The defending North American champion is Fallon Henley. The defending Intercontinental champion is whoever wins the finals. The defending U.S. champion is Chelsea Green.
I see where you're going with it. And there is an argument to be made that, yes, you can say that. And if, you're referring to the world champion and then you say Julia, well, you should understand that is the division. But there's also the fact that the moment you do that, you do muddy the waters and blur the lines. And it really is, at that point, it is semantics and it is nomenclature. But there is no reason not to, because I'm sorry, I'm not going to bury the big finish here, but Julia is not going out there and having a match with whoever happened to have won that 3-way with Oba and Eddie Thorpe and Trick. We know what happened, but I don't want to we have to get to that.
We got to get to that. But like, you understood where I was saying that. Like, it's like, 100%. And it's more, and I don't even mean where they're saying it on commentary or when we're talking about it now. Like, when we say the women's division now, clearly we have to speak of, or the women's version of the title, we have to clearly state what title we are speaking of. What I'm saying is when they're doing the beginning announcing, almost like, hey, this is the defending NXT champion, Roxanne Perez. I mean, it's Roxanne Perez. What else would she be defending? She's not defending the NXT heavyweight title. She's not defending the men's North American title again. Well, She's not
But
going
you just
after
said
Tony
men's
D'Angelo.
there. You see what I mean? The moment there, that's why we need it. It really is. It's just to make sure that the line. Hello, Stoli. It is to make sure that the lines are not blurred. And
That's fair.
Yes. And that's really all it is. And if somebody's super offended by that, listen. I need you to really take a look at your life right now. Like, if your life is that wonderful that can upset you, go be thankful. Because if that's your biggest problem of the day is whether or not somebody called the women's world champion and the men's world champion just the world champion, you're having a pretty spectacular life, and go enjoy.
It was more just it had struck me over the course of the week. I was thinking about it while I was watching these shows. And I'm like, maybe we shouldn't be. Maybe when they're doing the announcing, they should just. And again, I don't even mean on commentary. I mean the actual announcing for the participants in the match. But so this 4-way number one contenders match for the women's North American title is between Stephanie Vaquer, Kalani Jordan, Lola Vice, and Cora Jade. Hound, I know Cora is kind of like your not daughter at this point.
Man, it's just so good to see somebody overcome some stuff. And I can't shut the whole dad thing off ever.
I do like that she is taking a lot of steps to becoming more comfortable in the ring. She's doing a very good job of that. One of the things about this match, there was surprisingly little Jamokin. We did not see a lot of Jamokin during this match. Most of the stuff that had someone eliminated on the outside, a lot of it was a lot of moves performed amongst all 4 women, or something, or spots that involved all 4 women.
So I guess the best way to put it would be that it made sense. Like, what they did made sense. I really didn't have a complaint with the match. Truthfully, the match itself, it was enjoyable the whole time. I thought it was pretty obvious who was going to win. It was the only thing that made sense at that point. But truthfully, up until just the actual finish, literally the last 15 seconds, everything was fine. And the last 15 seconds weren't bad. They just were not nearly as smooth as the other part. And other than that, though, great. They all did great.
And again, that last 15 seconds, outside of Stephanie Vaquer, there's not as much experience amongst all those girls.
Yeah.
You have Cora Jade, who's coming back who's still kind of getting her water wings, so to speak. And then you've got Kalani and Lola, who have only really gotten into this sport in the last year and a half, something like that.
Yeah.
So that's stuff that could get very cleaned up. And like you said, the rest of the match was really good. Really good. And the last 15 seconds wasn't bad. It was just not as clean as we did like it.
Yeah, I mean, literally, if I'm going to nitpick it, and I'm not really the nitpicky guy here, the actual move just looked weak. The timing was off, and we'd mentioned it before where we talked about how Stephanie Vaquer, essentially protected a girl from seriously getting hurt, and it looked like she did it again. And that's really all it was. And again, if that's the biggest complaint about Kalani Jordan taking the finish there, so be it. She did incredible. The whole missed 450, aside from the timing on it and that's what I mean, the last 15 seconds, the timing, just a touch off. But again, remember the eyes you and I are looking at this with. So if this is all I can say about it, means the match was very good. Am I going to be sitting there saying, and having a Meltzer being like, it's 97 stars? No, it's a 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah, it was a good match. It was a very good match. In case anyone could not wade through that, Stephanie Vaquer won the match.
Well, I mean, we clearly mentioned who won.
We did say that.
And she's the right one for it right now.
She is the right one, especially in this match. I think she's the right one. I think having Stephanie Vaquer eventually take the women's North American title, I think, is also the right choice, unless you are so dead set to have her and Julia go down that road and go after both of them, go off the NXT title, and both of them are just gonna have a series.
Honestly, what I see happening right now is because you can make the argument that those are the two best women on the planet. Now, I say argument. It doesn't mean that that's correct, but they're in the conversation. And to have them as your two singles champions, truthfully, I could see them going to the first time you have somebody in NXT, you like kind of holding all the gold, if you will. I could see them pushing towards that. I could see both of them with very long title runs, and it becomes apparent that these two have to finally put the friendship aside and lock horns.
I could see that. I could definitely see that. Yeah, at least for the women's division. Yeah, I could absolutely see that. So we get a little bit of a backstage interaction with Ava and Obafemi, where he admits to attacking Eddie Thorpe earlier. Eddie Thorpe is lying on the ground during the in between the two women, the first two women's matches, saying, I'm not faking it this time. Why would I do this when I'm about to have a world title match? And Obafemi comes out and says, well, he's right. I did it. At least he owns it. I appreciate that. Not to mention, I don't want to get on Obafemi's bad side.
He's a large gentleman.
I just don't want him to fall on me, man. I just don't want him to fall on me. The next match that we have on NXT, New Year's Evil, is a 6-woman tag match between Fatal Influence, Gigi Dolan, Shotzi, and Tatum Paxley. So I'm just gonna say it. This is a match where the 6 women that are in the match kind of represent every man's type in some way, shape, or form. I'm gonna be that guy. It's true. Not a single one of these women, like, they're at some point, each one of those types is represented. Now then, with that said, all of these women are phenomenal in-ring performers.
Yeah, so Fatal Influence. There we go.
There you go, buddy.
I'm getting better at it.
Every week.
I'm going to stumble over it every time. Like, that's not Michelle Pfeiffer. But they've been good the whole time. We've seen them grow, but they've stood out enough the whole time. The most improved out of the bunch is Shotzi, and it's good to see how far she's come, because I was never really on board the Shotzi train. I thought the whole tank thing was cool, and yeah, she's adorable, little punk girl, whatever, cool. But I was like, okay, just you weigh 86 pounds and you're tiny. You could probably hide in my pocket. Be careful out there, you. Like, you. And now I'm like, all right. Get him, Shotzi. I'm on Team Shotzi, if you will.
So the one that actually impresses me the most is on Fatal Influence, Jasmine Nix. Mm-hmm. Because she's new. She real new. She real green. And you would be able to tell. On the lockup. Yeah, grass stains on the lockup. We know I'm a big Fallon fan. Honestly, I think Fallon Henley is the one person, man or woman, who sells as good as Liv Morgan does.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I see where you're going with that.
She is the only, actual selling of moves. She got hit with a couple things where the way she sold it, I was like, man, that looked, I don't think it was rough, but she got me believing it was rough.
This is where, and this is high praise. You want to know specifically, there's one thing I will say she's on par with. Like, you're right about Liv, but she's also on par with, like, when Rhea takes a DDT, because she takes the best DDT I've ever seen. And yes, she's, I'm excited to see where she's at in, like, the next 3 years, dude.
Fallon?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. So end of the match, we end up Shotzi gets the pin over Fallon, which again causes confusion amongst Shotzi and obviously Stephanie Vaquer that just won a number one contendership. I will say this, whether these girls did or they didn't, I'm not saying that they did because there was so much going on this show. These girls put through maximum effort to try to steal the show on this. You could see they were like, we don't care if you don't like what we did, follow us, like do better than us. And there was a lot of stuff in here where you could see like it was a lot of controlled chaos. It was a lot of, we're going to hit some stuff that you wouldn't even normally see us hit because we're going to get the oh shit chance and this is awesome chance. And there's still 2 more matches after us, and we'll be damned if Lexis King and Charlie Dempsey are going to have an easy time following us.
I love it, and you definitely could see that they 100% had a chip on their shoulder. And this is, again, and if any of the ladies in this are listening, I mean literally zero offense when I say this, but this match on paper and even the 4-way for the number one contender for the Women's North American, they're the matches that have the I've got to run to the restroom real quick kind of written on them. And I'm really not trying to be offensive, but on paper. And I love that they went out there with a chip on their shoulder and said, we're as good as anybody else, and we're going to show you. And you know what? I'm glad they showed themselves. Like that's incredible.
Like I said,
great job.
I'm not saying that they actually stole the show, but you could see that was their intention. They were like, no, screw you all.
Yeah,
we're doing this. And again, if who's gonna be mad at them for at the end of it? You can't get them in trouble because they just tore the house down. They had a great match, and what are you gonna do? Oh, you're in trouble because you did too good. It's kind of better to ask for forgiveness than permission at this point, right?
It's always been better to ask forgiveness than permission. But yeah, it's. I'm really proud of all 6 women in there. I think they did a great job. You know, it's hats off to you, and that's why I said I'm like, you know, if any of you happen to hear this again, it's not meant with any offense, but on paper, that's the hey, who needs nachos moment.
Yeah, this is when I'm gonna go buy merch.
Yeah, and anybody who did that, you missed out. You missed some incredible stuff,
dummy. Way to go, bud. Right. I don't know what that means.
You and I know what pal means.
It is not penoring.
It is very much anti-penor.
Not entrepreneur. Jesus Christ. All right. So we get a backstage segment with Ava and Ethan Page to start off with. And it's interrupted by The Rock and a doorbell.
Yeah, you heard that?
I heard that.
I don't have a doorbell.
Well, that's just weird. Because that's not what my doorbell sounds like.
No.
Did you just hear the neighbor's doorbell? Because that's amazing.
Maybe, and if that's the case, then I've really got to make sure this microphone is off, because who knows what I say when we're done recording. It's tapped into the spirit realm.
And this is where we're at, guys. Legion, congratulations. Candid moment.
Yeah.
How not? I'm going to get us back on track now.
Charlie, it wasn't me who got us off track.
I know. It was stupid doorbell.
I blame my cat. Somehow it's Avocado's fault.
It is Avocado's fault. So, during this segment with Ava, Ethan Page, and The Rock the Dwayne, Hound, I feel like this is your moment because you get a really cool father-daughter moment on screen for this. Like this was the one that I was waiting to talk to you about.
I understand that I say a lot of silly stuff and all that stuff, and I try to make some fun moments for the Legion and add a view on things that maybe not everybody sees the exact same way, but I ultimately think everybody can at least see my point. And yeah, man, and especially like I'm a girl dad. It's what I am. You know, we'll see what the future holds. Who knows if there'll be any more little houndlings running around at some point? Because Lord knows my little houndling is going to be driving soon.
Houndlings.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Ignore.
um, yeah, man. You could see the whole time, and I've seen dads have this moment, and it's always with daughters more so than with sons. Like with sons, it's like, good job, and then you kind of want to call them a butthole. Like, come grab a beer with me. Don't tell mom. Like those are the moments with father and son. It's a lot of don't tell mom, and then you go get brought to some kind of crazy biker bar, and you're 15, and you're like, where did I go wrong in my life to have me here? And I am not reliving as something that I went through. Absolutely not. I was not 15 and the largest person in a bar, and a bouncer's like, should he be here? Never once. But you can see that 100% The Rock.
I know your dad.
You do know my dad.
Just saying.
Yeah, he's pretty awesome, the jerk.
What was he at least playing in the band that night?
Yes. We're gonna go with yes. As long as you have no follow-up questions and my mother doesn't hear, yes. I don't need them. Listen, they're in the twilight. They're both retired. Enjoy. Don't fight.
I don't control what your mother does.
Sir, stop trying to cause drama amongst my rents. All right, amongst my parental units, they have fed you in their home.
They have.
So
listen, listen. Your father's best line I've ever heard was us watching wrestling one day, and this was Hogan had just come back to WWE. He was still using Voodoo Child. And from the kitchen, I hear your dad. I thought you guys were watching wrestling. We are. Who's coming down to Hendrix? If it's not Hogan, there's going to be problems. He made it down the little staircase from your kitchen to your living room. And he goes, it is Hogan. All right. And he walked right back up and went back to drinking his coffee.
It sounds about right, man. But yeah, no, but there's something different with the dad and the daughter, and you could see it on The Rock's face the whole time. He was very proud, and he should be. And you know what? You could see Ava is a grown woman, and you could see the fact that in that moment she turned back into a 7-year-old little girl staring up at her dad. And I can tell you, as somebody who's had those moments with a 16-year-old daughter, it's the ones where when you're out of earshot and nobody can see, and because you gotta be big and tough and surly and burly, you are absolutely blubbering in tears saying, please nobody hear this right now. And I guarantee you The Rock had that happen after he walked away. He definitely had to go dry his eyes. What am I hearing? I apologize, Legion.
There are things. Things are happening.
There's something going on right now. I just heard my bathroom door being like opened, and is asleep.
There are things afoot. All right. So moving on from the backstage segment, again, I love the interaction between all three of these, but we get a match that I was really excited for. Like, I was hyped for this match, and that was Lexis King versus Charlie Dempsey in a one fall to a finish, sudden death match for the Heritage Cup. Basically, it's just a one fall match, not the normal rules for the Heritage Cup where they usually do a round system. And this is one of those matches that could tear the house down. And I thought they did a hell of a job. A hell of a job.
You tell me a time when you think Lexis King and Charlie Dempsey are not going to. I can't picture them ever having anything under, like if we use a numerical grading system, anything under than like a 93 out of 100.
Are they sick?
That's really all it is, man,
Like,
at that point.
Like, and even then, I still think they might do well. Like, we might get the Jordan Fever game.
Yeah. They're incredible. And again, they're doing some great story stuff here. And speaking like, and you can tell, for the Regal out there being a proud dad. Like, it's just that it was a whole, like, dad's being proud night.
I will say this, because we spoke about it on New Japan. Could you imagine if we got some type of match with either King and Dempsey and Dave Finlay, or at least Dempsey and Dave Finlay?
I would love to
rekindle that.
I would love to see Dempsey and Finlay just as a team for a while, like the new Haas and Benjamin.
I could see that. It'd be really, really good.
Yeah.
We end up so Lexis King wins this match. There's an inadvertent low blow. He kind of runs a little bit too high for a leapfrog, and then hits his finisher, which is known as the coronation.
Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of the culmination of Lexis King realizing that doing the right thing doesn't mean necessarily just shooting yourself in the foot, I feel like.
Yeah, because he certainly didn't cheat.
He didn't cheat. He didn't do anything wrong.
But he took advantage of the situation as it presented itself.
He won the match. And he should have. He went and won the title. He did what he was supposed to. He did not cheat. And realistically, the move that the low blow he hit was completely inadvertent. And it just kind of, okay, if they had done it even a little quicker, he could have done it, turned around into the coronation, and it would have been like, well, I just turned around and hit my move. I don't even know what happened beforehand.
Well, yeah, and I guess the best, real world combat thing, if you have an accidental clash of heads, if you and I were fighting and we had an accidental clash of heads and it split open your eyebrow a little bit, but not enough to stop it, even though none of that was intended and I wish it hadn't happened, I now have a target to get you out of the ring. And exactly. If I don't go after it, shame on me.
I completely agree. I actually will even go even a little further. If we are in actual combat sports and we have an accidental clash of heads, even if I'm the one who takes the majority of it, if I back up and immediately, as soon as I back up off of it, you hook me and I go down and I'm out for a 10 count, you didn't do anything wrong as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, you didn't. You were not directed to stop, and protect yourself at all times.
Protect yourself at all times.
I love that something like that happened there because it's one of those. We said it earlier. Slipping on a banana peel. It's great storytelling. It's great slipping on a banana peel moment, and it gives a reason to continue these two hooking it up in the ring.
I agree. I completely agree. Which I'm not opposed to seeing these two going at it again because these two have great chemistry. So with that, let's get into our main event of the evening. The NXT heavyweight title. Trick Williams, the champion, versus Eddie Thorpe versus Obafemi. But we don't know if Eddie's going to make it to the ring. Either way, these two go. I have small critiques on this match. I think Oba is very good. Very good. I think Trick is very good. Something about Oba bumping during this match, it leaves me wanting a little bit. And again, this is me looking at the match through. Again, this is your top prize for what is kind of being established as once you win this title, your next step is the main roster. That's why I'm holding them to a little bit higher standard than I might have for the 4 matches previous, or at least 3 of the previous matches.
I completely agree with what you're saying there, and you're very right. It has very much been established that if you can have this NXT title and be successful with it, the highest honor is you're dropping it to go up. Like it's like, okay, you're gonna make more money. You're gonna really be traveling more. You're gonna live the life, that you said that you wanted. So Oba is the big man in the match, and I'm okay with Oba bumping to Trick because Trick is the same size as him. Eddie Thorpe, he looks like think back to A Christmas Story, and when Ralphie beats up the bully, Eddie Thorpe looks like the one who's like, I'm going to tell my mom, the little toady kid.
He's the little toady kid, yeah.
Yeah.
And so here's my thing: is I don't have a problem with him I don't have a problem with him taking the bumps. I have a problem with the actual act of bumping that he's doing. It's something about when he's hitting the mat. It's missing something. And I can't, like, it's one of those that while I'm watching it, like Trick hit him with something and he bumped, and it was like a bump and feed scenario. And it was almost like too quick of a feed. Like he bumped, and like, I get that he's the monster. I get that he's the guy. But it very much felt like because Trick's not a small dude either. So registering what Trick did to you is not the same as registering what Axiom or what even Eddie Thorpe does to you. You're registering what Trick Williams, a former NFL wide receiver who weighs in at 240 pounds, just did to you.
So a good part of that, I fully believe, is inexperience. And I can tell you what it is. It's the character of Obafemi, even though Trick and him are the same size, which it's okay for him to bump to Trick, but it's not every time. He does kind of have to big man it where, stumbles, but like if Trick started Lariat training him and Oba bumped to everyone, I'm going to have a real problem with it. It's Oba bumps too often in this match is the problem, because he's supposed to be the big man, and if he didn't bump 20% of the time, I don't think you're having this issue. I think really that's what it is, and it's hard to pinpoint.
That's true. And that's the thing, is if he bumps 20% less during this match, I might not notice that the sell for the bump isn't there. I think that's what it is he's hitting the mat and then like not registering the mat.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying? Like, so I think that's where it is. And like you said, if he bumps about 20% less, I might not notice that.
Yeah, because he spent for what it is, he spent a fair bit of time getting taken off his feet. And in that moment, like, and this is me tooting my own horn, and I'm a big dude. I was a good bumping big man, and you know that firsthand. And like, so if you got me off my feet, I was going to sell it right, and I was going to make it look like somehow you cut me in half, even, except for Takeshita. Not happening. Love Takeshita so much, but yeah,
I can't wait for this fight.
Yeah, I'm just gonna get murdered.
It's gonna be amazing. Gonna take every bit of it.
It's going to be amazing until you have to explain, well, your dad's an idiot, so that's why he's no longer here.
We're going to need another hound dog. Oh, man.
But yeah, but I thought that this ended the night right. I was not the biggest fan of the finish with the trick shot knee into the chair, taking Eddie Thorpe out of the ring. I was a fan of Trick taking the pin because you cemented it. There's nothing there. It's okay. There was a third person there, and you went for a trick shot knee, and you hit Eddie Thorpe, and maybe your knee was tweaked from hitting the thing. And okay, you have an argument to make that you and Oba have to run it back one-on-one because yada, yada, yada. And even then, Oba goes over again. And it's the right thing. And I think Oba is the right guy for the new year. And if he's not, you can just get it off him. But I want to see what they do with him.
And like you said, Oba wins it. As far as I'm concerned, that was a clean win from Oba.
Mm-hmm.
He hits that pop-up powerbomb, new NXT champion, and we get the celebration between Oba and Julia at the top of the rampway. And that is just before we get the finale of the show, which is The Rock in ring.
It's The Rock in ring, man.
It's The Rock in ring. The Rock was dropping F-bombs. I think he might have forgotten he was on a network broadcast.
Oh, did you ever see the thing where The Rock on Instagram and he's telling standards and practices in the cowboy hat, but it's everything leading for Cody Rhodes, and he's like, standards and practices, you keep your finger off the button when The Rock is out there. Off is the direction you can F. Like,
but it's very weird because, like I said it about the Raw too. Rock feels like he might be a little tipsy during these shows. He might have been hitting that Terramana before he ever came out, man.
Oh no, I'm the boss, and maybe I had 2 shots too many. If I was I don't drink, so I can't say I would. But enjoy yourself, man. Like you're 55,
something like that. He's in there, and he looks the way he does.
And yeah, and he looks like he ate himself from when he was younger and was The Rock. Because now he's not just The Rock; he is the final boss.
Yeah. You mean because The Rock is the only guy that can make The Rock look like a wussy?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. You know what I'm really excited to see? When Rock the Dwayne runs for president and we get his vice president, Cody Rhodes. You're lowering your head because you know I'm right.
I'm lowering my head because it might happen. You never know. We don't talk politics on here. I will not share my political leanings.
I'm talking about Rock the Dwayne's next move. He's done movies. He's done wrestling.
Go to the State of the Union address, and the final boss music is gonna play. And as he's signing executive orders, these people
and we're gonna get the vice president with that stupid neck tattoo.
Good Lord.
It's going to be amazing. It's going to be terrible. It's going to be amazingly terrible. Anyway, that was New Year's Evil for NXT. A very, very enjoyable show. As you can tell, we had a lot of fun watching it. We had a lot of fun talking about it. Let's move on to AEW, and we have Dynamite from January 8th, 2025. I have a lot of good things to say about the show. Before I get into the good things, I want to get one of my bad things out of the way. All of the signs and banners around and like digital displays around the show are for All In, Revolution. I did not see a single sign or a real advertisement for Grand Slam Australia, and that's in less than a month.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't notice that, and if that's the case, I don't know. Maybe it's already sold out, so it's pointless. And I'm sorry, but like, how aside from people buying on pay-per-view, Joe Schmo out in wherever it is that they're emanating from that day is probably not flying to the other side of the world, to the country that doesn't exist, because you know as well as I do, Australia's not real, and going to the pay-per-view.
No,
how could it be real? It's upside down. It would fall off the earth. It's just science.
It's not like Wyoming, man. It exists.
Yeah. I've been to Wyoming, so I think.
Liar. You think you have. Why? Hold on. But let's get into some of the good stuff for AEW Dynamite from January 8th, 2025. And the opening match on this card is Will Ospreay versus Buddy Matthews. And my very first note on this is just hell yes. Hell yes.
So And this is why you and I get so frustrated with AEW, because this is what they have there. And I'm sorry, but right now, interchange Will Ospreay with Shelton Benjamin. Interchange Buddy Matthews with Okada. Interchange this person with Omega. It kind of doesn't end. And you know what? Pick any one of them, throw Kyle Fletcher in there, and then pick any one of them, throw Mark Briscoe in there. And you're going to have this. And this should be AEW's identity. It's like, okay, tell the stories you want to tell. That's fine. But give us more matches of this caliber. You got guys there who do want to do the indie stuff. Okay, we're not getting it out of them. But you know what? If you're going to have guys who want to do the work rate indie stuff, let it be Buddy Matthews and Will Ospreay. Let it be anyone. Yes, those two, first of all. Shame on them for being that much better than everybody else on the planet. How dare they?
Literally, one of my notes is because we've had me on recording saying, well, Fletcher and Ospreay did too much to start the show off. These two guys get a pass on doing way more stuff than everyone else does and showing them up because it's Buddy Matthews and I want him to. I'm not going to lie. It's a double standard. It's completely a double standard. But they've been holding Buddy Matthews down in two different major organizations for so many years now that I want to see him do everything in the world. Like his inverted GTS. Frick.
When that happened, I watched it and I went, nah. And I went, I didn't see that. And then I watched it again and I went, he did that.
He did that.
That's it. That's impressive. And then I watched it a third time and I had a moment where I stood up and I was like, the unmitigated gall of this person to do it. First of all, Will Ospreay is a saint, and how dare you be so mean to him? But Will Ospreay is a lunatic in the ring anyway. I'm convinced he's the toughest man in wrestling, first of all. It's like, it brings me back to when AJ Styles was German suplexed off of the ring apron into the guardrail head first. And I was like, yeah, because he has to pay more dues.
To pay dues.
Yeah.
Obviously. It's the best wrestler on their roster. Has to pay some dues, though, man.
Yeah.
He's Mr. TNA. Let's pay some dues.
Like, it just, yes, a million. And we've been saying this even when we did our episode where we kind of just shot some ideas out there and we didn't even go super in-depth into it. But yeah, it's okay, great. Do all this and then somehow involve Takeshita and do all this and somehow involve Omega and do all it's great. And you could there's not enough good to be said about it.
I'm going to throw this one out there since you said his name. Buddy Matthews versus Kenny Omega.
Yes, please.
Yeah, like please give me that match.
If it's Omega from the Tokyo Dome. Although
everything about Matthews I really love. I'm not gonna lie. I love his gear. I think it's very, very unique in its own way. Like it works for him perfectly. And this is the first time I've gotten to say this on a show with you, Hound. But this Will Ospreay versus Buddy Matthews is the match of the week. It is, man. Like I specifically made sure that I buckled down and watched everything before we recorded so that I could guarantee that this was the match of the week. It is absolutely the match of the week.
And what's great,
it might be the match of the year already.
It's one of them. It's at the very least the TV match of the year, or going to be in the conversation for it. And what's great is AEW didn't have a match and where it starts off hot and they pull you in. And obviously you do have to slow it down and you have to pendulum swing to get all the way back for some kind of big crescendo at the end. But it wasn't like we didn't come in hot at 100 miles an hour and then slam the brakes to 30. AEW kind of did this show pretty well.
I agree. This was one of the better Dynamites that I've seen in recent memory, at least.
And we get to
Uh,
say nice things about most
right,
of AEW for
good,
once. It's a
good,
beautiful thing.
good things. Right from Will Ospreay and Buddy Matthews, which I'm going to transition us away from this only because if we don't stop, we're going to talk about how good this match was all day,
Pretty much, yeah.
which we will, just not on the air.
Yeah.
Uh, there's a quick private party promo. It gets interrupted by the Hurt Syndicate, and they lay down the challenge for the World Tag Team titles. I'm okay with this as well. My note here is, does that mean that we could get the Hurt Syndicate versus FTR?
Please.
Yeah, like, I'm okay with seeing Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin versus FTR.
I want to see Shelton Benjamin and Dax Harwood punch each other.
I also wouldn't mind if somehow into this Hurt Syndicate, I know he has had some issues as far as going up and down weight. He started teaching amateur wrestling again. Wouldn't mind if somehow they managed to bring Charlie Haas into the Hurt Syndicate and we get Haas and Benjamin back.
It would be really cool, man, because folks in the Legion, if you're on the younger side of things and you didn't get to see Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin as a tag team, especially in the time when they were under the tutelage of Kurt Angle, and, that was their whole, deal. My God. And then do yourself a favor. Just go look for Benjamin and Haas versus the Briscoes. Benjamin and Haas versus Red Dragon. Benjamin, and just sit there and go, you know what? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to shut up and I'm going to enjoy this.
You can actually go far enough back while they were under the tutelage of Kurt Angle, and it's Benjamin and Haas versus the Guerreros.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I remember that match.
Yeah. And they gave that away for free. That was a free match. That was on SmackDown.
It really was on the SmackDown.
It was amazing. This promo, though, goes directly into Bobby Lashley versus Mark Briscoe. So we've been talking about this little build up between these two for weeks. I've been fiending for this match because I love Mark Briscoe and I also love Bobby Lashley. And hey, by the way, in 3 segments, we've had adults in the room.
Yeah.
AEW, I am proud of you. I am proud of you. Good job, AEW. It warms my heart. It warms my heart to see some of this. So this match is exactly what it should be. It is Bobby Lashley beating the dog out of Mark Briscoe for the most part. But it is also Mark Briscoe getting sympathy and doing redneck kung fu and doing stuff that shouldn't be able to do because he's Mark Briscoe.
Mark Briscoe is a national treasure. He is, I have never hidden from you my affinity for the Briscoe brothers. And like we say every time, rest in peace, Jay. You speak the Briscoe's name with reverence. Mark has always been one of my favorites.
Oh, chicken.
Oh, chicken. Good Lord. But yeah, the match was exactly what it should have been. Lashley should dominate. Briscoe should have his moments. And when he has his moments, they should be enough to have the crowd super into it, only to be brought all the way back to reality. And yeah, it was a great visual of the Hurt Lock finish. And because Mark Briscoe is the same air quotes size as Bobby Lashley, basically the same height.
He's like the same height.
Yeah. But he, you could tell it's like same height, but he's a different weight classes here.
It's a different guy.
Yeah.
I will say this. My highlight of this match is not a part of the match itself, really. MVP on commentary. And we get a throwback, and he refers to the chair as an international object. Yes. Yes. Just, you know what? Bobby Lashley is a treasure. Mark Briscoe is a treasure. MVP is absolutely an international treasure.
MVP is so good, dude.
He's so good. That is an international object. He can't be using that. Amazing. Amazing. He prenured that night. He absolutely prenured.
I am a fan.
Right from this match, we then get the Casino Gauntlet match. For anyone who is unaware of how this match works, this is first fall gets the win. It doesn't matter how many people are in the match. And apparently, I guess the way the casino works is it's random intervals for people entering the match. I did not realize that until they mentioned it on the show that night. So whoever wins this gets a world title match against Jon Moxley next week. And the people who start this off are Switchblade Jay White and Hangman Adam Page to just continue this feud. And then we get Wheeler Yuta as the number 3. And my next note is Jamokin.
Well, of course.
Not everything is perfect on this show. Not everything. Number 4 is Ricochet. We then get Adam Cole. Look, I never say this about many people, and I know we should not body shame. Maybe it wouldn't hurt you to do a cycle, bud. Just one. Just get it out there. I need Adam Cole to look like he belongs, even in the ring with Ricochet.
I have to put a disclaimer out there because of what you just said. Legion, these opinions are Steve Zapf's and Steve Zapf's alone and do not reflect the opinions of I Still Call It a Lariat as a whole.
I appreciate that. Also, I'm not telling anyone to do drugs.
You might have. You might just have done that.
I need him to have a sandwich or something at least now, man, or something. He needs something. I don't know what he needs. I hate to say, Adam Cole might need to be a manager.
We just got done praising him the other day. Okay, I understand, but dude, the dude battled back from a ton of injuries, including vertigo. Give him some time.
I know, but I think that might be the other thing is I think he might have had too many injuries at this point.
Maybe
real life. That's going to be my real opinion on this. Is I think it's too many injuries at this point. I think we're at the point where he's had so many injuries that we're waiting for the next injury.
Maybe we'll see though. But you know what? You could have said the same thing about Omega, dude, who legitimately had life-threatening stuff occur, and on top of everything else that he had done from his time in Japan for all those years. So let's see. I'm not saying you're not wrong. Adam Cole does need he does need a couple of pounds, and he needs them to be pounds the right way. But let's.
All right. So then I will change the way I said this.
Okay.
I think they should write in an injury for Adam Cole for right now. Get him off for a little bit and let him take time to train. I would like to see him, when he comes back, I'd like to see him look like the Adam Cole from NXT. Because he doesn't right now. And that's my thing. I would like him to, or at least have the best opportunity to look like that version of Adam Cole.
I see what you're saying, and I don't disagree. I just had to put it out there that there had to be a disclaimer.
So, number 6 to enter is Daniel Garcia. Okay, here's the other thing. Garcia is bigger than him right now. That's where I'm at with it. And we get number 7, Powerhouse Hobbs, who I just expected Hobbs to start beating people with other people at this point, because he is that much bigger than everyone else involved in this match. Number 8 is Roderick Strong. Again, so much Jamokin. Number 9 is Lance Archer, and we finally get someone who is at least on the same size level as Powerhouse Hobbs. Number 10 is Kyle O'Reilly. And number 11 is Double J, Jeff Jarrett. Jarrett ends up getting jumped because, well, not jumped, but Wheeler Yuta comes in and takes him out of the match almost immediately because Jarrett is one of the guys who has openly said he's going after the world title, which I don't understand why Jarrett is the big threat in this one, as isn't... Here's where I'm going to say this. Isn't everyone going after the world title?
Well, if you're not, you shouldn't be there.
Yeah, like, not just everyone in this match. I mean, everyone in your promotion, right? Everyone is hoping to vie for the world title. And everyone in this match is absolutely going for the world title. So I don't understand how Jeff Jarrett is the most dangerous guy here. And I'm not taking anything away from Jeff Jarrett. He's a legend and all of that. So we're either just, like, it just seemed like this was a weird one for Wheeler Yuta to single out, unless the other side of this is their version of psychology, is this is the only one that Wheeler Yuta could viably single out.
I'm going to present you a third option, and I think this is kind of like Occam's razor here. You know, simplest answer is most correct. This is how you get Jarrett to Moxley.
I agree. So the end of the winner of this match is Powerhouse Hobbs. And Hound, I'm going to ask you the question. Does anyone really believe that he's going to beat Moxley next week?
Unfortunately, no, because the only credible threats that they've made, and Wheeler Yuta just made Jeff Jarrett a credible threat, are guys who are 100% on their retirement tour. And it's Christian Cage, Cope, and
Stop that.
And Double J.
Stop that.
What? Stop what?
You know what you did.
Well, I called him by his name. It's Cope.
It's something. Something's happening there.
Listen, you might not like it, but our dear Edge, Adam Copeland, and now Cope has requested to be called Cope. And who am I to deny such a legend his request?
So anyway, Adam Edgeland is is a viable threat.
I love it.
I thought you'd like that one. You know what? I'm going to throw an opinion out there. You're right. I don't think that Hobbs is going to win this. But I think if he did, I think it would be a nice shock.
It would be a nice shock, but you and I want Jon Moxley to lose that to anybody, including the security guard.
I mean, facts, especially the one that works for Private Party, because he's always there. But
yeah,
I will say this. Powerhouse winning the world title next week would be shocking, and I think it would get people talking about AEW in a good way.
I see where you're going with that.
I think that would subvert expectations very, very much, and it would prove that you're willing to push this guy Powerhouse Hobbs that should be pushed, and also you're gonna try to use some of this homegrown talent.
Yeah, I ultimately, and we make no bones about the fact. I mean, I've never hidden the fact I've never really been a Moxley fan. I've never bought into the whole, like, he's a badass type thing. Sure, man. Okay, you did deathmatch stuff, which is something I wouldn't do because, you know, I'm not an idiot. It's just how I would say that. I mean, I'm an idiot. Don't get me wrong. I live with me all day long. Most days I'm lucky breathing's involuntary, but I don't buy Moxley as a badass. And even this whole thing, like, dude, it's the whole, like, that little weird thing he does with his shoulders. Like, okay, man. And I go back to my times working security. Like, if he walked up to me with his invisible lat syndrome, which he does, and he did that, I would stick my fingers in his nose and lift him off the ground and carry him out. if you know the people I worked with, and if he did that to Ninja, he wouldn't be alive.
Sean
Would just hug him. Sean would just hug him and
would,
yell
but
giggity.
he'd never get out of the hug.
Yeah, well, it's because Sean
has real lance.
Yes. And then, and if he did it to Diesel, well, then they could just sit there and be weird together. Both be giant, Diesel being a giant with a lisp, and Moxley thinking he's a giant and knows Death Jitsu.
Death Jitsu. Oh, man. All right. So right after this, we get a Double J promo, and he gets interrupted by MJF. I wish this was... I wish the crowd was better on this. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think the promo itself is that bad. I don't think the segment is bad. I think this is actually a better MJF than we've seen recently. I feel like we've talked a lot that MJF is just recycling old material. This at least seemed somewhat fresh. I felt like Double J being in front of the hometown crowd could have gotten a better reaction for this.
So, and I agree with you. I thought this was a better job from Max in this scenario, as opposed to it being like just uber recycled. And the reason why I think it didn't get the reception is everybody expected it to be uber recycled. It was very much like Boy Who Cried Wolf there. And, was it different? It was different enough.
This crowd just seems a little off by this point too, and I don't know if maybe the Casino Gauntlet wore them out.
Might have,
because even the next in-ring promo is Adam Edgeland. I'll say Cope.
I didn't say anything.
I heard you smiling. But like no one cares about this promo either. Like. Sorry. Like, and I get that they did close the show with Omega, but they're at the top of the 9:00 hour, and I think it would have behooved them to have used Kenny Omega at this spot instead.
They definitely did not preneur correctly here.
No, this was not prenoring at all. I really, really believe that this was, I don't know. Honestly, they could have moved everything around a little bit. I think giving this at the 9:00 hour, giving Kenny at the 9:00 hour, and they could have done the gauntlet at the end of the show. I think that might have worked out better.
Maybe, and it's one of those things where I guess you never kind of know how anything's going to be received. The whole Omega being back in that scenario, I understand why it's supposed to be so big.
I understand as well. Yeah,
so,
I get it.
Yeah, I do get it. I don't agree with it completely. Truthfully, I think in that scenario, Ospreay opening the show is a great thing, but if you open to the segment, you open with Omega.
I agree. Yeah, exactly. So the end of this, the baby faces end up jumping the Mox World riding whatever the hell they're called this week. So FTR and Edgeland end up jumping them and to get their pound of flesh back, and then end up getting left there lying. That is confusing to me. I get it. There's no such thing as baby faces and heels. You guys are going to keep telling me this, but at the same time, these are supposed to be the baby faces, and them jumping the heels. That's not the part that doesn't make sense to me. Them being left laying afterwards doesn't make sense to me, because now you guys look weak and foolish. They don't come off it again. The people that are credible threats, you've taken away my credible threat.
That's the problem with the way this has been handled, because listen, I'm going to steal the phrasing from another show, but the moment the Dick Riders get over on somebody because they have to. They have to a couple times. When it's FTR, it's not a good look. But if you have FTR beating them senseless for weeks on end, and then we get to whatever it is they're going to do, and the Dick Riders pull it off, well, if they escape by the skin of their teeth, it's one thing, but it doesn't resolve the feud. And the whole time coming out of that, if you separate them, then even though they're supposed to be the big bads in your organization, there's no threat behind them. Like Showtime said it best when we were doing a review. If you do that, you take the teeth out of them.
I agree. Like I said, it's just I would have preferred to have seen the Riders jump them. It should have been the opposite way around.
Yeah.
Like, because the Mox World Order has been getting their pound of flesh on them. You said it yourself, they kidnapped FTR. They tried to kill Orange Cassidy. They're doing all of these things. This isn't a situation where Rated FTR has been getting the better of them that often. So getting the better of them once is a huge difference than, like, this is just that one time where it's like, oh, hey, look, they might have a chance. And then next week have Mox and them get it.
So this is going to sound odd saying it like this. The problem here is it feels like the whole Moxley thing has been going on for much longer than it has been, because the story itself, while it started off super intriguing, it didn't land right. It at least for me, it didn't land right. So at Rated FTR and Moxley's whole shenanigans, they haven't been hooked up together that long. That's the thing. It feels like it's been forever. And it hasn't. It's been like 3 weeks, dude.
Yeah, it's only been a couple weeks.
So, and that's why I'm saying, like, it's not as 50-50 or it's not as dominant or anything like that as you think it is.
That's fair. All right, let's move on from this, because for the most part, like I said, I enjoyed this show. We've talked about some of the stuff I did not enjoy as much now. We get a quick backstage segment between Harley Cameron and Mariah May. Apparently on Collision, we are getting hot girl graps. Yes, that is the term they're using for this.
I didn't catch them saying that, and you know what? I applaud the wording there. Good job. I applaud the wording there. And that's the thing. It's nothing. Anybody who knows me, I don't really like super suggestive stuff, especially on network TV. And saying it like that, it's all right.
Prenoring.
Yeah. The AEW has begun to repreneur.
I'll allow it. So we get the last match of this Dynamite, and it's a 3-way women's match. The women gets the number 1 spot in the Casino Gauntlet that they're having for the women next week. It is Toni Storm, Chris Statlander, and Hound, your girl, Willow Nightingale. I'm sorry, your favorite person.
Willow My favorite person.
Your favorite person.
There's actually an IRL girl for Hound, so I don't feel like getting punched in the face.
This match is really good to start. This is Willow coming right off of that Tokyo Dome match that she had.
Yeah.
So a little bit of jet lag also wouldn't have been surprising. How come every time Willow and Chris hook up in a match, though, there's a move that involves Statlander's choch?
I don't know why Statlander decides to involve her hootenanny in these matches with Willow specifically.
There's a whole lot of hoot and just a little bit of nanny in there.
It's okay. I am. It's just every time we talk about it, I remember the split into the thumbtacks, and then I feel it makes me upset. Makes me, it's no.
Makes you sad.
It makes me want gross. I just don't, I don't know what to say there. But yeah, they leave the hootenanny out of it.
I will say this: this match has no Jamokin in it.
The ladies did a great job.
They did a really good job in this match. I like that Statlander gets a clean win over Tony Storm. This kind of goes along with this whole Tony Storm being crazier. She doesn't know who she is. She doesn't remember the last, 5 years, basically.
To be able to forget a period of time.
I've time traveled before.
You've time traveled at the speed of real time, just influenced by whiskey.
That's fair. All right. And of course, the end of the show is the return of the best bout machine, Kenny Omega.
I like his new music.
I like the fact that he comes out the center
of
the of it, especially since he's supposed to be an EVP. He's not necessarily a face or a heel. He comes out, and even when he's active, he's still just a wrestler.
Yep.
This gets interrupted by the Callis family, and after Kenny kind of jumps the gun on this, they all come out and jump him, and he's saved by, of all people, Will Ospreay.
Well, you've got the two people who Don Callis was saying, like, if you remember the thing with Ospreay, he's like, I already betrayed one best wrestler in the world for you. Don't make me do it again, kind of thing, essentially. So they have a common enemy, and then there's also the heat between Omega and Ospreay that existed beforehand, but it's one of those enemy of my enemy is my friend type thing.
So you think this leads to them going at it one more time? Also, I feel like Omega and Ospreay are big enough threats that if they go after the Riders of Disappointment, that it makes sense. Especially if by chance especially after the end of the opening match with this, part of their team is Brody King and Buddy Matthews.
I love the idea. Could you imagine that as like a stable where it's Omega, Ospreay, Matthews, and King? That is fantastic. I love it. That's you could argue that's a four horsemen for AEW.
And like the Sid Vicious Four Horsemen too.
Like
you get the big monster involved in it. I like the idea of it. Again, they're doing a lot of stuff with King and Matthews right now where we are seeing where they're going to go. I wouldn't be surprised if Brody King and Buddy Matthews actually split completely. Like, amicably be friends. We are buddies. We are still stable. We are still brothers. But I need to go do my thing over there, and you do your thing over there. I wouldn't be surprised if Brody King keeps Julia Hart as his valet in that case. But that is Dynamite from this week. The next show we are going to talk about is AEW Collision from January 11th, 2025. The opening match is Cope versus Big Bill. Yeah, I used his name. I will say this. My first I have questions on this match, so I'm going to throw them to you, Hound. And you can answer them in whatever order you want, but I'm going to word them in the way I have them written. First, why is the possible number one contender opening the show? Second, why is the face coming out first? Third, why did Jericho go out to commentary before the rest of his group came out? Because all three of those things don't make sense to me.
Pardon me. I'm just going to say, don't get hung up on the whole Cope coming out first thing. It's not really that big a deal. If anything, I think it was Big Bill's not going to get any kind of a reception, and he has a better chance to catch some residual excitement because Cope's already in the ring.
And you're opening the show, so you want the bigger star to come out at the open of the show. the bigger question is, why is he opening the show when you're the possible number one contender? You're involved in the world title storyline right now.
Maybe he had dinner reservations.
He was there all night.
Listen,
all right, fine. Why did Jericho end up on commentary before the rest of his group ever came out? Do you have an answer for that? Because that doesn't actually make sense in any version of this.
Okay, you're not going to like it. Because Jericho's old, and I think he just realizes that he's just going to do whatever he wants, and he's trolling everybody because everybody's like, go away, and he's like, nah.
No.
Yeah.
Nah. So the match isn't bad. Edgeland wins this and then gets jumped by the learning tree, which causes FTR to come out to make the save. We get a quick Hangman Adam Page promo in the back during this, or after this match. This is one of his better promos. I think what he says is good. How he looks overall is good in this. I think he needs to work on his delivery a little bit more. One of the things I've written here is he almost needs like a salesman class. So the way he is delivering his lines in normal conversation, and you and I have both been in sales in our life. So when you are selling, one of the things that you are told is to make sure that you pause occasionally to at least involve whoever you are talking to. It's not very long. It's long enough for them to go, yeah, whatever. You just get a quick interaction so that they know you're not running through this. He does it, but he kind of pauses almost like he's blown up during the interview. Like it's a lot of pause. And then it's a sentence and then a long pause, and then a sentence and a long pause. And the only reasonable explanation I can have for him is because he's supposed to be a little nutty. And I'll go with that, but it's still a little, again, I'm reaching for that one.
Okay. I'm going to offer what I believe is the more realistic thing here. And maybe they're trying to have him be a little bit kooky and nutty. But you and I have talked about cadence before. And Hangman is somebody who never really understood cadence. And I think somebody has been telling him for a while, you have to let the moment breathe. And now in this moment, he let it breathe a beat too far. So I would rather see him starting to do that. And I would rather have that slight awkwardness to it right now, but it still had room to breathe. You gave it too much room, and now you can dial it back, because you can always dial back and add to until you get too far one the other way. He wasn't too super far the one way. It's just a beat off. So he's getting closer. It was definitely a stronger promo from him.
I agree. Like I said, he is noticeably improving. It was just noticeable pauses. This whole thing leads to, we're going to get a Texas death match against Christopher Daniels with the two of them. So I believe that's supposed to be on Dynamite next week. The next match is Pac versus Commander. My first note is, truthfully, who cares that Commander is Ring of Honor TV champ? When the last time we saw him, Marina Shafir was dog walking him.
Okay. They have written themselves into a corner with this Marina Shafir thing. I get it. Yes, she's a trained fighter. Is she legitimately a badass? Yes. Is she beating up any of those guys? Maybe a couple. But I'm sorry, there comes a point where somebody's just going to have to go, no.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
It's because if I was in that scenario and they wanted me to sell something from her, she needs to hit me with a chair. You can stand over me then. You got me from behind, everything else, cool. And you can look like an absolute badass. I am all for it. Girl power, rah-rah in that scenario. But the idea that you're going to like grab my wrist and
And judo throw you.
no, because I'm just gonna go no, and I'm gonna lift my arm up and be like, "What are you doing here? Get away!
Why are you still here?
Yeah, just go away now."
That's kind of my thing. Like if she's doing it to guys that are both bigger than her, and if they're looking for someone to give the China Mystique to, they had Camille this whole time, who's actually 6 foot tall, who's actually built the way China used to be.
And this is the thing. This is where the whole Dick Riders thing has gone amiss. At first, it was okay. I mean, and there was a way to do the Marina Shafir thing where, like I said, she sneak attacks, this, that, and the other thing. You can still look like a badass taking somebody out, and they don't look super weak when they didn't see it coming. You and I both know it's the one you don't see that actually puts you out. If you see the punch coming, you can prep for it more often, unless it's like somebody really landed a haymaker, and even then, you're probably just stumbled. But the ones you don't see, they're the ones that shut the lights off. So there's ways they could have done this, and it's even back to I've said a million times about the hook with the snap submission thing, where you can have instant taps, and he's legitimately a threat. You made Hook a threat with his hair and. Sharon. But and then it's Marina Shafir, because she's just like da Zolvis called Mother Russia, and I'm like, go away. Like that's great. I understand it's always cold in Mother Russia. Why are you standing near me while I'm eating soup? Like, go home. Nobody asked for you to come over here.
No soup for you.
It's and yes, no soup for her. You know what? I hope somehow she goes after Takeshita, and he's just, I have a funny feeling Takeshita's going to go, we're not doing any of this, and he's going to throw her into the rafters, and we won't see her again. I don't want her to be hurt. Just she stays up there now.
That's where she lives.
Yes. Don't want her to be hurt. Want her to have a lovely life in the rafters away from everything else.
I'm okay with all that. That actually sounds amazing. So Pac wins this match with the SCF. I mean, the Brutalizer. Same damn move. The Idiot Riders come out to beat up Commander, and we end up getting the Outrunners to come make the save, which starts Outrunners versus Claudio and Yuta. I'm going to say this. Normally, the Outrunners are just a lot of fun. They did show some nice wrestling in this. You can see that they're trying to transition them into maybe a little bit more of a threat for the tag team titles eventually. But they are still fun. The D-Riders end up winning this, of course, because why would we build up another team on their expense? Moving on, we get Mariah May versus Harley Cameron. Apparently, we will get Hot Girl Graps. Here's where I'm at with this. Going into this match, I thought this match might actually be better than expected, because these two girls are actually very good friends outside of the ring. And you know as well as I do, sometimes when you get that friendship in there, you go in there and kind of beat the hell out of each other because you can have a beer afterwards.
Yeah, well, I mean, you trust the person more. And so, you're willing to do a little bit more.
This match was better than I expected, and it just seemed like there were too many physical steps actually being taken. Like, when I say there's too many steps being taken, I mean like they were almost scurry footing throughout the match. But all around, this was a lot better than I thought this match was going to be, and I'm pleasantly surprised with Hot Girl Graps.
Yeah, this absolutely could have landed with a thud, and it didn't. Did it land the most gracefully? Nah. But it landed on all the wheels. We didn't go thud.
Next segment of the show is we get a Brody King squash match. It seems like they're definitely setting up the House of Black guys to do some stuff, since it appears that Malachi is leaving. So it seems like a lot of stuff with Brody and Buddy, like to make sure that they have somewhere to go afterwards, which is weird that they're setting it up when, you know what, I digress. I'm just going to go on to the next spot. It just feels like this is...
It's Shivani's fault.
It's all Shivani's fault. You said he was a better commentator than Corey Graves.
I did not.
You were going to go there, and I will never forgive you for that.
I alluded to annoy you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The greatest commentator of all time is Taz. I don't want to hear it. You know precisely why.
What's in the box?
He's got something up his sleeves, but he's got no shirt on, so he has no sleeves.
It's a giraffe. The box isn't tall enough.
You know,
his head's between his legs.
Head tucked between his legs. The box is too short for him to stand up. Love Taz.
We get a TNT title match between Daniel Garcia and Shibata. This is a really good wrestling match. These are, again, some of the guys that should be involved with the TV title.
Yeah.
A lot of great counter wrestling. I will say this. I normally praise Shibata a lot more than this. And I get that it's Japanese style to do this. It's the Bushido and all that jazz. And we did praise it on the New Japan stuff. But when you get Garcia selling the chops that Shibata is hitting him with, and then Shibata no-sells the same exact chops back to him, it pulls it away a little bit. And again, it's one of those, I get it, Bushido, I understand it. And as we said, I judge it differently in the Tokyo Dome than I do in Nashville, Tennessee, or wherever that they're at. You have to be able to transition between the two cultures if you're going to be working in the two cultures.
I get it, man. And I see what you're saying. I think
also, Shibata is not a young dude. He's a legend.
So what I was going to say is you kind of have to give Shibata a pass there. You really do. Like, you want to see somebody who does it right? It's Takeshita. Yep. Takeshita does do it right, but we are, and you said exactly what I was going to get to. Shibata is, first of all, he's lucky to be in the ring again. He's lucky to be alive. Second of all, he is way, way closer to the end than the beginning. And you know what? If Shibata wants to go in there with these young guys and they want to take those chops from him, God bless you. Okay? Because you know what? Listen, I am all for, repenting for what you have done wrong. But like after the first one, it's like, I'm good. Listen, it wasn't that bad. Like, I'm really sorry, and I'm not going to do it again.
I will say 1,000 Hail Marys.
It's like, I've learned my lesson. I will behave from now on. And then if you're getting hit again with that, it's like, okay, listen, I am sorry. I was a teenager at one point, and I was incorrigible. But please, enough now.
Sir, I appreciate you to go home now.
Basically, but yeah, Shibata's just, and you know what, man? It's more the fact that for those guys he's going to be locking up with right now, with the Garcias and whoever else, they are kind of crossing bucket list stuff off for themselves. That's fair. Shibata doing that, it's a favor for them.
That's fair. All right, I retract my statement. Let's get on to the main event for this, and that's the Learning Tree, Chris Jericho versus Dax the Axe Harwood from FTR. My initial writings in this will be good, like really good. Although Jericho took an ugly dragon screw during this match, but the match is very, very good. And kind of the match just gets thrown out when everyone that's been on the show comes out for a melee. And it kind of doesn't make sense that it happens, other than the fact that this type of stuff has Moxley written all over it, especially the part where in the middle of the melee, Moxley comes out and hits the paradigm shift on Edgeland.
It's lazy booking at the end is really all it is. How do we make the end of the show me standing over the top of you? And the fact that they're doing this, it gives me hope against hope, which I know isn't going to happen, but it gives me hope against hope that Mox is dropping that title, even though he's not.
To Hobbs. He's going to drop it to Hobbs on Wednesday.
I would rather see him drop it to Hobbs than Cope.
Edgeland. Thank you. Adam Edgeland. The rated superstar are Adam Edgeland. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so that's been the week in wrestling, though. Legion, as always, we love you. Thank you for coming along for this ride with us. We appreciate you sticking out with us on our tangents. We appreciate you prenoring with us. We will prenor for the continuance of the year. And to go along with what Hound was saying earlier is everyone has a touch of the death right now. A lot of our shows this week are coming out about a day or two later than they should. It's just a matter of everyone got sick, and we apologize. But we are still going to be getting everything out. Showtime and I have already spoken. We should be doing a review on TNA Genesis. That is quite literally the only pay-per-view or PLE that is being broadcasted this week or this month for any of the promotions, other than obviously our New Japan coverage, which go back, that links will be down below. Hound, care to send some of the people off with your lovely words of wisdom?
Folks, as always, we appreciate you spending your most precious resource with us, your time. And I mean this wholeheartedly. I really hope that each day of this year for you is better than the previous. And while not every dream can come true over the course of a year, I hope at least the groundwork is laid for you and you see where your steps have to go and the path you have to follow. I'm really rooting for everybody. And God bless and have a wonderful year. Thanks, folks.
And as always, guys, remember, tuck your chin when you bump.